sophomore English major at the University of Delaware, and I hope to take you guys on a wonderful journey into the lives of three powerful Black women, Madam E. Toussaint Welcome, Trustee Ann Souders, and Maria P. Williams. These three women have impacted the film industry in such a wonderful way. They made it possible for a young Black woman such as myself to even be able to pursue film. And so I wanted to just pay some homage to them and just sit down, relax, and vibe with me on this journey. And hopefully I teach you guys some things and inspire you to do your own research. So, thank you. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and you're going to answer them to the best of your ability. Okay. So first question. Do you have any familiarity with the film industry?
Not particularly. I enjoy a good film, but I don't really do so much research into the behind the scenes.
And when you think like behind the scenes, screenwriter, director, producer, do any names come to mind? Just any names?
No.
Not really?
None at all.
Do you have any...
Wait.
Okay.
I thought of Oprah.
Oprah?
Yeah.
Oprah? Okay. Well, do the names Madam E. Toussaint, Trustee Ann Souders, or Maria P. Williams ring a bell?
Well, what was the first name?
Madam E. Toussaint?
No.
Not at all?
I thought of like the Wax Museum, but I don't think that's her.
And do you know Madam E. Toussaint Welcome, Trustee Ann Souders, or Maria P. Williams?
The first one sounds familiar. I don't know the other two.
Madam E. Toussaint Welcome was born as Jenny Louise Van Der Zee on January 10, 1885 in Lenox, Massachusetts. When she was growing up, her father and mother worked as a maid and a butler in New York for President Ulysses S. Grant. In the meanwhile, she attended Lenox High School and attended private artistic lessons in her spare time. She actually discovered rather quickly that she was very talented in the arts. And so luckily for her, her family was actually well acquainted with the arts. Her brother actually is the well-esteemed photographer, James Van Der Zee, and he's best known for his imagery of African American life, which is actually quite interesting considering what Jenny goes on to do. And later on, Jenny actually moved to New York where she met her soon-to-be husband, Ernest Toussaint Welcome. And once they were married, she actually became as Madam E. Toussaint Welcome. And that's not to be confused with the Wax Museum. She's her own separate person. But despite being an inventor and a businessman, Ernest Toussaint Welcome had a passion for the arts as well. And one day in the early 20th century, they opened up the Toussaint Conservatory of Art and Music, which is an art school and a photography studio. And once news of the conservatory began to spread all over the city, people began to recognize her talents, actually, which was fantastic for her. And so she decided to write an advertisement for the school, and she referred to herself in the magazine as the foremost female artist of the race. And after the publication of the issue, things began to change. And Jenny decided to start creating films, and films that recognized African American contribution to World War I. The film was called Doing Their Bit in 1916. And it was a 12-part series shown in 2 rural segments that focused on African American military participation in the war. And like most women in society during that time, her work actually was masked by the name of her husband. And when she stared at the big screen and that glared Toussaint Motion Picture Exchange in bold letters, a fire must have ignited in her core. And because she decided from that point on that she was going to make a name for herself And so under the Toussaint Pictorial Company, she created the Change of Color division somewhere in France. And so there are about 100,000 colored posters of a painting depicting an African American male with the 15th insignia on his canteen and his bayonet in the chest of a German soldier. And that was distributed across the country. And so according to history, African American soldiers, they spent more days in the trenches than other American units. And so Madame Toussaint Welcome, she was known as one of the only filmmakers ever to stand against the cruelty and shed some light on that issue. And then after the war, the War Saving Stamp Committee decided to use Jenny's painting and make it into a poster for display. And unfortunately, there are no existing physical copies of this work. And if the painting were to exist today, it would have been the only painting accepted by the U.S. government's National War Savings Committee made by an African American artist to be used as a war poster. And so Jenny Van Der Zee, she was a trailblazer. She pushed past societal expectations and grounded herself as the foremost female artist of the race. And she became a part of the group of African American female filmmakers who aided in establishing U.S. cinema. And it is because of her grace and determination that she was recognized as one of the first African American female filmmakers and screenwriters. And to say that she is the first, it is very heavily debatable. And it's, like I said, quite frankly unknown. Because at around the same time that she produced her film, so did another woman. And this woman was Trustee Souders. And she was born on February 7th, 1897, 1,491 miles away from Madame Toussaint Welcome in Frankfort, Kansas. Trustee Souders was born to Robert Souders and Louisiana Ann Bryant. Years later, after her parents' divorce, she actually attended Frankfort High School and graduated in 1918 with a high school diploma. This is truly when her journey to success began. She decided to travel to Kansas City and work as a maid, and that was the job that she actually kept for most of her life. She eventually discovered that she had a passion for performing arts, and it stayed with her while working as a maid, and she knew that she couldn't quit her job and start a new life as an artist. So what did she do? She did both. And the earliest recording of her works was in 1918 when she joined a local performing arts organization and participated in the production Every Negro, which was written by Reverend A. Lawrence Kimbrough. And at the age of 24, Trustee Souders decided to take matters into her own hands and create a film of her own. And she was able to write, direct, and produce in her own film titled A Woman's Error. The Afro-American Film Exhibitors Company showed interest in her talents and agreed to distribute her first film. A Woman's Era was growing increasingly popular, so much so that film critics everywhere even began taking notice of her films. And Billboard magazine actually stated that A Woman's Era was the first of its kind to be produced by a young woman of our race and has been passed on by the critics as a true picture to Negro life. It was this recognition that popularized Trustee Souders and made people believe that she was actually the first African American woman to write, produce, and direct a film, and that put her on the map. So much so that film societies recognize her to this day, naming her after awards, charities, and organizations. Shortly after, Trustee Souders moved to Los Angeles, most likely to follow her music pursuits. I say most likely because the details about her personal life after Woman's Era are very slim. Even with all of her acknowledgments of her singular film, nobody really knew anything about her. Most of the news outlets were mostly focused on the fact that she was the first African American woman to succeed in something, rather than personal information about her. And despite this, extensive research was done on my behalf and lovely historians to ensure the accuracy of her life story. She eventually moved to Los Angeles, and she later married Oscar C. West, a manager of a pool in Watts, Los Angeles. And she actually ended up separating from her husband. But after the separation, Trustee spent her remaining years staying in San Francisco, California until her death on January 17th, 1995, and she was 98 years old when she passed away. She was only known to have released A Woman's Era. at least under her name. And still, she is noted as one of the most pioneering women in the film industry. Moving on, another film pioneer who goes by Maria P. Williams. She was born Maria P. Morey in Versailles, Missouri, 1866. She was born Maria P. Morey in Versailles, Missouri, 1866, and she began a career as a school teacher, teaching people about politics and social justice. There were those moments where she found herself traveling to Kansas City to give lectures and speeches about varying topics of the day. Sometimes it was about social justice, and it was about other topics as well. But mostly it was about social justice. It was a very passionate belief of hers. It is believed that it is actually a very passionate topic for her. And it's believed that she actually grew tired of the travel and decided to permanently stay in Kansas City. And her thirst for social reform pushed her to join a newspaper. And she quickly succeeded and excelled in newspaper writing. No surprise there. And later became the editor-in-chief of the New Era paper. And it was a while later that she realized, of course, that she wanted her own. So she went out and started her own paper titled A Woman's Voice. And there she published stories and essays on relevant topics such as Cuban freedom during the Spanish-American War. In 1916, she published a pamphlet that explained details of her work and personal life. And fortunately, only the page of her work is the only thing that can be found today. And all information about her personal life is gone. On top of that, that same year, she was married to Jesse L. Williams, an African-American entrepreneur in Kansas City that owned numerous businesses, one of them being a movie theater. Maria managed a theater with her husband, and this led to the distribution of her own films intended for the African-American masses. Maria and her husband created the film company, Western Film Producing Company, so that she was able to release her own film. And so Jesse, her husband, was actually president of the company while she was the treasurer and the secretary. But it's very important for me to state that while it says treasurer and secretary, she definitely did more than what her resume says. She did a lot of work behind the scenes and carried most of the company on her back, actually. So even still, she pushed and pushed and pushed and went on. The Western Film Producing Company actually released Maria's first film. It was titled Flames of Wrath, and it's a silent crime mystery drama film that was released in 1923. Maria actually appears in the film as a prosecuting lawyer, and after its release, she was regarded by many people as a self-sufficient, independent, hardworking, and creative woman. And today we know her as one of the women who paved the way for young and aspiring filmmakers. A little more than 10 years had passed at this point when Maria actually was home by herself, and a stranger came knocking at her door and claimed that his brother was sick and his brother needed assistance. And being the kind-hearted person that she was, she went outside to go help him. And they lured her outside, and that was when they pulled out a gun and they shot her, leaving her dead on the side of the road. However, her legacy as a trailblazer continues to live on, and she inspired numerous people in the process. These three women are pioneers in the film industry, and when everyone told them no, when everyone blocked their path to success, they got a shovel, they digged their own path because they said, you know what, we're not listening to you, we got this, we know what we want, and we're going to get it. And that's exactly what they did, and it's because of this that I'm even able to be doing this right now, and I'm just so thankful for them. And yeah, I'm glad that I got to share this information with you guys, and I hope you guys gained something out of this. Thanks for sitting with me and learning about these women.